Second topic under financial management that we are going to discuss today is working capital management. Now, working capital management again can be understood as understanding three different perspectives of the same statement differently. Working is which keeps on going on a daily basis. Capital again is the money employed by the company members, and requirement is again arrangement of funds and resources. Now, when we are talking about capital, let's first understand the types of capital over here. Capital is the money employed by company members. Capital can be divided into two different parts. First is working capital management, or we also call it as a current capital or procurement of current assets. Then we have a long-term capital, or we also call it as a fixed capital. Understanding about working capital management, first we need to have a clear shot or a clear picture of what is working capital management over here, in which capital is very important for us all to understand. Capital, as I've told you, can be divided into two different parts. First is long-term capital, second is short-term capital. Long-term capital can be procuring fixed assets or permanent assets for the organization. Permanent assets or fixed assets for the organization can be plant and machinery, building, etc. Whereas short-term capital for an organization can be the funds required for day-to-day production of the organization or day-to-day working of the organization. Example of short-term capital can be purchase of raw material, funds which is set aside to give as wages to the employees, purchase of other raw materials, etc. So we can say that working capital management refers to the money required by the organization for day-to-day functioning of the organization. Whenever we say that raw materials are converted into finished goods, we say that working capital management is required over here. So working capital is nothing but the amount which is required for a company for day-to-day expenditure of the company. So now we know that working capital requirement or a working capital management can also be called as revolving capital or circulating capital. It is thus that financial need of an organization or a manufacturing concern wherein they require cash for day-to-day expenditures or for procuring current assets. Current assets are all such assets which can be converted into cash very quickly, which gives liquidity into the hands of manufacturing units or production houses. Now, understanding working capital management and requirement from a practical perspective. Practical perspective of any manufacturing concern says that an operating cycle is related with manufacturing of the product. How manufacturing of the product exactly takes place? First is procurement or acquisition of resources. Let's understand this particular terminology very well. Operating cycle of any organization refers to the period required by a company for converting raw materials into finished products. Okay. Over here, we need to understand three concepts very nicely. First is acquisition of resources. Second is manufacturing of the resources. Then third is understanding that those resources have been formed into finished product and then selling it in the outside market. The first part of it is acquisition of resources. Acquisition of resources, let's try to understand with an example. Take a company which is manufacturing a shirt. Okay. Now, manufacturing in a shirt, what all raw materials do we require? First, we require a thread and a needle, fabric and other resources. Secondly, when all such resources have already been procured, we need to convert all such resources into a finished product. When we are converting or procuring all such resources and then converting into a finished product, we obviously need some cash for that. Why? Because we need certain machineries to convert all these raw materials into a finished product. Then we require certain amount to be kept aside, which we can give to laborers as wages. We require fuel. We require money for paying electricity bills, and n number of other expenditures are attached with it. So we say that first we have procured the raw materials, that is thread, needle, all other resources. Then we have tried to convert all such raw materials into the factory or in a production unit. While all such things are converted into a finished product, we are going outside the company and trying to sell it in the open market. When we are selling this finished product in an open market, obviously some cash is also required for us to sell it to retailers or to wholesalers. When we have given it to retailers, wholesalers, when we have sold to them, either we'll get cash out of it or it will be sold on credit. When we get cash out of it, we have again a chunk of money so that it can again be used as working capital requirement or working capital management. And if we have credit sales, it acts as a debt for the company. But in both the ways, our fund is used in a very optimal way.